Hello everyone and welcome to today's webinar, Top Features to Look For When Choosing a Hybrid CMS. I'm Alexandra Barcelona, Director of Marketing at dotCMS, and I'll be today's moderator. Just a couple of housekeeping items to go through before we get started. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be sent out to everyone who registered after. Also, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them in the questions panel on your screen so that our speakers can answer them at the end of the webinar. I'd like to get started by introducing today's speakers. We have Stefan Schinkel, Enterprise Sales at dotCMS, Will Ezel, CTO at dotCMS, and Daniel Patterson, Principal Architect at Dept. To give you a brief agenda of what we'll be going through today, we'll be talking about what is a hybrid CMS, take a deep dive into edit mode anywhere, and finish with a fireside chat with our panelists. And now I will pass it to you, Stefan, to get us started.
Thanks, Alex, and welcome everyone. Thanks for tuning into this webinar about a topic that's dear to my heart. Most of you or your clients are currently executing on their digital ambition, whether it's optimizing, transforming the business, or both. It is our vision to bring one small but relevant piece to this puzzle. We want to provide the content foundation as a service that helps you to build, manage, and deliver connected, trusted, and continuous customer experiences so you can win in your industry. Let's look into the key capabilities of a hybrid CMS like dotCMS. Working with an API-driven content management system means that content can be accessed and exposed over APIs, whether this is a Java API, RESTful, or GraphQL. This should also include permissions to cater for security and compliancy guidelines in your organization, as well as two-way data exchange. For technology teams, there are some clear advantages working with an API-first platform. First of all, it gives them freedom of innovation. No longer are they stuck with proprietary and outdated technologies dictated by a CMS vendor. They can now leverage any modern front-end framework to build, let's say, single-page apps, multi-page apps, and even progressive web applications. No restrictions. This also allows them to optimize skills within their teams. And they are no longer bound to technologies that are expensive to source. Secondly, building integrations is now a low effort. There is no reason not to enhance the experience with data and content coming from, let's say, marketing automation, CRM, a CDP, or a commerce engine. And it will help them to create richer omnichannel experiences, as well shorter the time to value and lower the total cost of ownership. For business teams, there are some clear advantages as well. First of all, they can support the necessary business function to execute on their digital ambition with the best-in-class tools. So they can move away from suites who may cover the spectrum but never provide the depth to really make an impact, let alone resulting in a friendly ROI. And secondly, marketing teams have better control over the customer experience. No restrictions that monolithic CMS solutions impose, but deliver the best possible experience anytime, anywhere, blistering fast and at a lower total cost of ownership. At dotCMS, we are very passionate about no-code. It is one of the key pillars of our product vision. Anyway, no-code means that business teams can run their digital agenda with little to none involvement of technology. And conversely, technology teams can focus on the cool stuff, being innovation and explore cutting-edge technology that impacts the business outcomes. So for technology teams, this means zero involvement in the day-to-day operation of creating content and experiences, which means there's more capacity and budget available for innovation and explore advanced technologies instead of building page templates, workflows, content types, personalization rules, and what have you, right? So working with an agile and modern technology to build and deliver faster results for the business at a lower cost of ownership. Everybody wins. A no-code CMS platform obviously has some clear advantages for the business, right? It really puts them in the driver's seat, and they can really unleash their business creativity and are self-supporting to do whatever they want, right? So there's no restrictions, there's no dependencies, and this really drives time to market, time to value, and therefore has an impact on outcomes like conversion, cross and upsell, and customer loyalty. The third key capability brings us to the core of what we define at dotCMS as a hybrid CMS. And this is really where hybrids stand out significantly from monolithic solutions. And it means zero restrictions when it comes to deployment of the CMS, whether it's on-prem, private cloud, public cloud, or a mix. Secondly, it's offering both static and dynamic publishing to multiple runtime environments at the same time. And lastly, and this is what the rest of the industry means if they talk about a hybrid CMS, is really delivering the content, whether it's native, headless, or mixed. But in our definition, hybrid CMS means a little bit more than just the content or experience delivery. For a technology team, hybrids are a great way to optimize cost-efficient sourcing from a infrastructure perspective, while maintaining high standards with regards to security and compliance. Specifically, when you containerize dotCMS and the content-driven applications, the freedom of the technology stack for building apps is huge, right? So no longer they are restricted to proprietary technology stacks by the vendors, which offers many opportunities to also optimize sourcing within their teams. And it really helps to drive time to value and time to market. For the marketing teams, they can really increase their control over the customer experience for all customer journeys, while at the same time, they can start or continue to use the tools they like for their digital marketing execution, like their favorite marketing automation tool or their favorite CRM tool and what have you. So there's really no MarTech lock-in by a single vendor, right? So also freedom for the business. And finally, the grand finale of what you should look for in a hybrid CMS is the critical capability that we coined Edit Mode Anywhere. And basically, this module secures an undisrupted editor experience for marketers while creating their beloved customer experiences, right? So regardless where and how the experience is exposed, and again, this can be a single page app, a multi-page app, a progressive web application, or an IoT device. This capability allows, key tools like preview, inline editing, drag and drop, personalization, and template editing, just as if the content was rendered natively. For the technology team, this means they can leverage any technology and build any type of application, right? As said, this could be a single page app, a multi-page app, progressive web app, or any IoT device, and obviously a combination of these as well. While the editor continue to keep their agility and support in the content management process, right? So the freedom this will bring allows IT to optimize their stack, their team resources, and therefore their innovation agility. Now, for the business teams using Edit Mode Anywhere, they are able to deliver a consistent, hyper-personalized customer experience, regardless how and where the content is presented, while having a consistent and awesome editor experience, right? So both the technology and the business teams win. Okay, so let's wrap up what hybrid CMSs can bring to the table, right? So they bring an increased agility for both business and IT, and this has really a huge impact on time to market and time to value. Secondly, the bigger control and richer customer experiences impact the overall customer lifetime value, so not just in the acquisition phase. And lastly, due to high cost efficiencies across the board, this will really impact total cost of ownership and return of investment for your digital platform. Again, everybody wins. Okay, so now that we've looked into the key capabilities of a hybrid CMS, let's look into one in particular, which is the edit mode anywhere. Will, can you show us how that looks like in dotCMS, please?
Sure, Stefan. Edit mode anywhere, I agree, is a really exciting capability in dotCMS 5.1. I have up here the diagram of how edit mode anywhere works. It's not the prettiest diagram, but it is descriptive. And thing about diagrams, they work for the person who creates them, so that's what this is. But let me talk about it a little bit here. Edit mode anywhere really builds on the work we did with page as a service and layout as a service in dotCMS 4.3 and 5.0. Those are very capable services. What we did, we took the page as a service endpoint and kept adding to it, and in essence added to it all really that a remote system that's consuming a page as a service would need, not only to render the page, but also to be able to render back into dotCMS what that page would look like if dotCMS were to consume it in edit mode. So what that means in essence is that with edit mode anywhere, what you can have is a fully manageable single page app that lives completely separately outside of dotCMS. It could be a single page app. It could be, as Stefan said, a .NET app, a PHP-based or a Node-based server, anything that can consume the page as a service API and can render that back, and dotCMS can take that render and will drop that into edit mode and make that manageable. But so I think the best way for me to start is just to basically demonstrate it, right? And so what we've done, and in 5.1, is we've delivered a single page app that's written in React and written on top of our demo.dotcms.com site, which is not a requirement, it's just an example. And so with that, for this demonstration, we hooked that into Heroku and have gone ahead and deployed it via Heroku. It's listening to a Git branch, and whenever updates happen, it redeploys. The important thing about this app is that it is a universal or isomorphic single page app. And what that means is it means that it can render both client side completely using the browser's JavaScript, or it can render server side. And actually, Node can go and make the requests under the covers and deliver the pre-rendered HTML back. And this single page app supports both of those. And so we went ahead and deployed it on Heroku. And what that gives us on Heroku is a single page app running against we also have a server set up for this webinar called webinar.dotcms.com. And so the content, the layout, the pages in this webinar.dotcms.com is feeding all of the content, layout, and pages in this single page app. So the single page app has a lot of different capabilities in it. Number one challenge that I think people struggle with when integrating CMSs with their single page app strategies is how do you deal with routes, right? Single page apps are all about, there are no pages, instead they're routes, and the routes are what content hangs on. In dotCMS, we offer navigation as a service API that actually drives the navigation up here for the single page app. And just to show you all, let me show you all the page source here. You can see here that page source is, obviously all of the interactions here are happening on the client side. We also, the single page app can support things like slug, URL-based slugs. Again, this is pulling from the news repository in the dotCMS starter site. Now let's head on over to dotCMS and take a look at what it looks like on that side. Okay, as you can see, we're now at webinar.dotcms.com, which is driving the content on the single page app running on Heroku. And if I click into, let me just click into edit a page and jump to edit mode, you can see here that this page is actually the single page app coming through in edit mode, right? And I can browse the site in edit mode, and if I take a look at a particular page, you can see here that I have my normal editing capabilities within dotCMS. So what does that mean? It means we can edit content contextually. Contextual, right? And I can save that. And you can see here that content's been updated. I can preview what that's going to look like, and I can preview that, in a variety of different devices. I can preview what the single page app is going to look like in a variety of different devices. And I can also do things like drag and drop content and content layouts. Let me just show you all. You can drag and drop content, and let me drop the event up there, and I can rearrange my page however I see fit. Right now, the beauty of this is when I hit save and publish, and I come back to my single page app. Let's take a look at the About Us page now, and you can see all of my changes have now taken place and are visible in my single page app, right? And so the single page, again, this is single page app is all happening via API, via client-side rendering, and I was able to jump in and just edit that just like I would any other page or any other site that's being delivered by dotCMS. But there's even more capability. So in dotCMS and edit mode, you can edit layouts, for example, right? So I could say that I want this page in particular to use a 50-50 layout. And I come back to our React app and refresh. You can see now my layouts being managed within dotCMS. I can do things like choose to change if you had multiple themes. You could change the theme of your single page app, or I can choose to hide the header and footer of our single page app. And if I come back and refresh here, okay, so I lost my header. So with this capability, you can deliver more than pages. You can deliver layouts into third-party systems. So let's say you have an e-commerce site and you want to, in between the rows of products, you want to drop in a perfectly laid out promotion for a number of different products. You can lay that out within dotCMS and then consume that and be able to deliver that in a single page app experience within your e-commerce application. And the good news is it's all configurable and controllable from the dotCMS, the edit mode of the dotCMS system. So what it comes down to is there's really not a capability in dotCMS edit mode that can't be leveraged within a single page app and within the single page app edit mode anywhere framework that we've developed, right? You can do things like, let's say I want to add a new YouTube video, right? And I'm going to say, okay, YouTube video, and I'm going to search for my favorite YouTube videos of all times, which are cat videos, and I'm going to go ahead and save and publish those, or this video. And now when I come back to my single page app, you can see that the cat videos on my single page app, and I can reorder and drag and drop anything that could be done within edit mode, right? So when I come back to my single page app, there's my cat video. Moving on, let me show a little bit about how single page apps, how you can add new pages to single page apps. And again, in this paradigm, and this doesn't have to be the case, but in this paradigm, a page equals a route within the single page app. So we say my node page, we give it a URL, and we choose we pick a template here within the system, and let's go ahead and say one column, and we're going to save and publish. Okay, so now we're looking at a blank page on the single page app. Well, what I'd like to do actually is I'd like to choose to show this page on menu. I want to cache it. I'd like to choose to show this page on menu and go ahead and add that property there and then begin to manage my content on the page. So I can say, okay, this page is going to have, again, is going to be, maybe it's a 3-column layout. And I can choose in each area what content can be added to that area. And then maybe I want to add at the top a banner, right? So I can say, let's put a banner at the top and drag that up at the top and go ahead and save that. And coming back to my page, So these are now my layout of my template. So I can say, let's say I want to select a new banner, right? And one thing we've done in 5.1 is we give an image, a preview of what the content type can look like. And here you can see we can drop a banner, let's say the first-time investor, okay? And that's going to go ahead and drop that onto the page. And I can begin to populate the content under it, and I can reuse content. I can drop content onto it. I can say, okay, let's drop all different kinds of content. And this content, again, is all manageable. Let's say the technological job fair, okay? So, really I've just created a page. I can go ahead and publish this page. And now when I come over to my single page app and I hit refresh, you can see here I have a new route called my node page, right? And again, this is all client side, what's happening here. And that instantly is available to any remote system that is using dotCMS to drive the page and context of their application. And let's say I wanted to, I can continue down this path, and I can reorder my menu, and I want to put services first and about us second, and my node page at the top. And I can go ahead and save those changes. And my menu and the navigation is refreshed on my page. It's also refreshed on my single page app. So I've come to realize how deep and powerful this capability Edit Mode Anywhere is. For our system, there's a lot of components to it, and it requires some understanding of how some of the different pieces in dotCMS work. But to enable it really takes the single page app, which we're going to be offering in 5.1. There's an OSGI-based plugin, which we're going to be offering in 5.1 that can do the delivery of the Edit Mode Anywhere. And finally, obviously dotCMS 5.1. And with those three pieces, you can deliver content completely remotely and get that rendered in any third-party system and still deliver a very, very robust and business-friendly editing experience for your CMS users. So we're real excited about this.
Thank you, Will and Stefan, for your insight. Now I'd like to start our fireside chat, where I will have Stefan, Will, and Danny share with us their thoughts on Hybrid CMS and Edit Mode Anywhere. Take it away, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. Will, thanks for this demo. It's always still very exciting to see this new capability in our product. And to be clear, for the audience, we showed an example of a single page app in React, but obviously you can use Edit Mode Anywhere for any type of application, whether it's a single page app, multi-page app, or progressive web application with any framework, right? So not just React, also Angular, Node, Ember, Vue, and the likes. Just want to be pretty clear about this as well. Hey, Danny, first of all, I want to thank you for being with us today. I know you're in high demand, so we really appreciate your time with us. And I also would like to take the opportunity to thank you for your input back in the day and your suggestions that have led to what we now call Edit Mode Anywhere. And we couldn't be more excited about how this turned out, right? So let's talk a little bit about what we see in the industry, right? You work in the front line and you talk to customers across the industries directly. What is your take on what this means for clients and your company, Depth, being at the forefront of digital transformation?
Yeah, so for me and for our customers, Edit Mode Anywhere kind of impacts us in two major ways. The first one being just around the ability to select your technology stack, so with no compromise or limitations. So we could, as you guys have said before, we could choose any JavaScript framework or library from React, Angular, Vue, but server-side technologies as well, such as Java, .NET Framework, and .NET Core, all come into the mix. So that opens up the world of accessibility to dotCMS in a really big way. So that's really exciting. The dotCMS could obviously access or be accessed through these technologies, through the APIs it had before. But now you have the ability to eradicate the issue of having to duplicate effort. So you might have a .NET app consuming the APIs, but you'd still have to support the editorial experience natively and within the CMS. So you guys have eradicated that issue wholeheartedly, plus open the door to all your other APIs and rich feature set, which is excellent. So essentially, you guys have put that control right back where it belongs, which is with the customers and with the implementers, and that's really, really good to see, and it's a huge step forward. And the way it's done is really slick. I mean, the demo that Will's just given us, it really is that smooth once it's in place and when it's done. Additional bonuses for that are also in the realms of technical, but also from business perspectives. So you kind of touched on this earlier, Stefan, in that, from a business and marketing perspective, you can really focus on letting technology work for the business, right? So you can design your solutions along with technology implementations and tools like no code with edit mode anywhere, and you can really enable your marketers and your businesses to do what they need to do and start making technology value add rather than a constant implementation cycle of changes that need to be built into large, highly complex systems. But it also adds additional benefits to things like integrations. So again, something you mentioned is the efficiency of putting these things in. So you now don't have a scenario where the CMS integration and the website integration are synonymous in any way, which means that your integrations are a lot more lightweight. So introducing a DAM or a product information database or any other external system marketing automation tools, you can focus on just getting data into the CMS, to be able to tag and relate content and data, enhance it and enrich that data, while providing integrations on the website end that can focus purely on consuming and composition of that data. So focus on building SDKs and custom frameworks that really support it. So those are all just excellent things. And I think the second thing for me that is really good about this is the control over CI/CD processes. So what you guys have done is remove all barriers, whether it's you're using Jenkins or TeamCity for your continuous integration, but then things like Azure or Octopus Deploy for your content delivery. Those pipelines are yours to define. And edit mode anywhere is just one of those tools that enables that in the latest offering. But also the concepts you guys have done around scripted APIs and APIs as a service, really, really cool. Enables you to introduce that into your processes and your pipelines. But also the concept that containers are now file-based. That means, again, the deployment and capabilities of that for people introducing your platform are endless. There's nothing that people can't do. So really, really exciting additions. And as I've said to you guys before, I think it's a new standard and benchmark in enterprise CMS platforms.
Great. Well, thanks, Danny. And I just got a message from Stefan. He's struggling with his internet, so this is live without a net and not pre-recorded. So I'll go ahead and I'll take the next question. I think the next question that was before us was that we see a lot of demand in the marketplace for headless capabilities. Danny, what do you think is driving the demand for brands to go with and to look for headless content management solutions?
Yeah, and this is one that you guys again have touched on today, and it's the idea of being able to supply content distribution and data distribution in that omni-channel experience. So it's a general statement, but and covers a lot of ground, appreciated. But true headless is fundamental to be able to achieve that. So our customers' content and data holds a lot of value to them and their customers, and to have the ability to frame that data in any way, whether it's from digital signage to kiosks to web apps to mobile apps, to have a consistent experience that can be targeted, analyzed, and deployed through lightweight performant APIs is fundamental. And, dotCMS offers that in a really good way with feature-rich and very mature APIs that are extremely performant. And I would like to add, even on modest infrastructure, dotCMS performs extremely well.
Yeah. Well, and I see, the prime driver for headless adoption is really the same thing that originally drove CMS adoption 15, 20 years ago, right? Which is the fact that it shouldn't take an IT team or a support ticket when you want to make a content change or manage some content that's being delivered to your customers, right? And in a modern, internet ecosystem, brands are delivering not web experiences, well, they are, but they're also encouraging, and engaging customers across all different kinds of channels and devices and players. And, and they've found themselves in doing that and in working and trying to engage across all of these different channels in the same place that they were 15 years ago, where they need to open a support ticket if they want to change some of the content in their, in their app that's in the App Store. And that's just, we've seen this movie, and it's just an unsustainable paradigm, really. And headless and hybrid CMSs allow business users the control that they're expecting, just like, traditional web CMSs did, 15 years ago, right? There are limitations to pure headless, headless play.
Exactly, and that again comes down to the value, right? Because people are not only supplying those channels for people to consume that content and that data, but they're actually supplying feeds to that data directly through, abstract layers on top of the CMSs. Again, you realize that value in a different way and provide that contextual outcome that people are really looking for. So it's definitely the way that things need to be looked at.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like, from Stefan, you back?
I'm back. Thanks for covering, Will.
Okay, yeah, no problem. We were just talking about how, why we've seen, the rise of headless in the marketplace. And, but I'm personally of the opinion that, pure headless play is not the answer. And I think, we've been talking with Gartner and Forrester and, on this very topic, and they firmly believe that hybrid CMS solution is a longer-term solution for content management. This is something that I feel very strongly about, and I don't know, Danny, what your thoughts are on that.
100% agree. Hybrid brings a lot of advantages to all aspects of the business, right? So from a technical and marketing perspective, you've got URL handling. You showed a quick demo there of being able to introduce pages and routes into your apps. These are things that people want to do all the time. And the hybrid capability to be able to support both the technical need for those requirements, but the editorial experience is really key. So content and preview editing has to be a factor in the way that's handled. Other advantages are faster development, deployment features, which you guys have mentioned, features like search, which again, I know you guys offer out the box, but being able to access that data, all being in the same place, the same repository, makes those things easy to access and apply contextual experiences to them. And again, that marketing and campaign support, right? So having data available, but also have that editorial experience to support how the business needs to grow is really important. So I know we've only talked about a few advantages, but there are a lot, and those are basic challenges that many companies go through, on a regular basis. So I guess the hybrid really gives you the freedom to choose with confidence, right? To know that you've got something that's going to grow with you in the future, meet your requirements, and do you justice, And other platforms may introduce the whole API headless component, but it's often an addition to a platform that's too heavy to change, right? Because it's an adoption that hasn't been from its core. It's not at its heart. Which is where dotCMS is very different. It's an API first platform, and you really feel that when you start to work with it, and you start to see progress very, very quickly. So yeah, that hybrid approach is really, really key.
Yeah, and I mean, I really feel that the hard truth for the pure headless players is the fact that business users inevitably are going to want to be able to do more than really be just data entry and management people, right? I mean, from a pure headless approach, really what's happening there is they're just sending, database rows as JSON, and, and content editors are going in and manage the content. But, I think we're going to see the headless players move towards providing that editorial experience that you're talking about, Danny, because it's just, I think inevitably it's just a pure headless approach isn't enough, right? And the other component is that they're real table stakes to being what I'd consider an enterprise hybrid content management system, right? It's not there are features and functions within that take years and not months to develop, right? And I think these include things like, rich versioning, content variants, being able to support multilingual capabilities, and not only just multilingual content, but providing different, the ability to support different multilingual strategies, from falling back, intelligently to even, being able to deliver customized workflows that can manage content throughout the content lifecycle. All of these capabilities wrap around the editorial experience, and those aren't, again, it's much more than just managing, popping open a piece of content and changing the title of a link or something like that. And I think that the headless players are going to come up against that.
Yeah, and I would like to add something to that. I mean, if I'm talking to marketing teams and see what they do, I mean, outside managing content that's being exposed on apps and then, corporate websites and what have you, the majority of the time is spent on creating landing pages for digital campaigns that they're executing, whether it's, below the line or above the line. And that's where I feel hybrid CMSs play really well, because you don't want to build, let's say, a single page app every single time that, a marketing team wants to do a landing page, right? So that's where I feel a hybrid CMS like dotCMS that has a delivery tier as well really helps them to really crank out a landing page in minutes, really. I mean, that's really where I think hybrid CMSs differentiate and stand out from pure headless players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Again, Will, thanks for covering this little breakup. I mean, both you guys have been in this space for quite a while, right? And you work with, Will, you only work with dotCMS, obviously, but Danny, you work for an agency, so you've seen, multiple CMS solutions. What do you see as the next big thing in the CMS world?
So, big question for a big world, that one, isn't it? But I would say that, the personalized and engaging customer experiences that we've talked a little bit about, along with, machine learning and AI is what people are looking for. We've talked quite a bit about the marketing support, the technology working for the customers. And, when we talk about personalization, we're not just talking about adding a couple of rules in to change a banner. We're talking about influence over the content changing and the design and the layout. So having those capabilities and to influence those aspects of your applications is what's important, right? It needs to be more than just changing an image or changing some text, but also providing the insights and the analytics to the customers, right? Because it's fine being able to test and then make a decision and then provide the outcome, but you need to continually learn from that. So you need to understand what your trends are within your business, and the insights and analytics that can be plumbed in to your applications life cycles, especially from the commerce side. It is really, really important, and it's the only real true way to drive revenue and realize value out of what you have at your fingertips from technology and from a data perspective. So those are the things I would say that people need to look out for and focus on. And I think any company that can get ahead of that game provides something that is not only powerful from the customer experience, but from the marketing editorial experiences as well. So make that easy to get going. We'll have a winning formula there, in my opinion.
And I
agree.
Yeah, I agree as well. Yeah, AI is obviously the next big thing with regard to content management. And as Danny said, it's not just manage, it's not just the personalization of content, but it's also can come into play with regard to layout and design, right? And already AI is capable of generating testable variants of content, of page layouts, and those type of capabilities embedded will be inevitably embedded into any CMS or delivery of content, any sort of delivery pipeline of content to users. We've really begun over the past 15 years, as a group, we've begun generating a long tail of really mineable personal data that's only just begun to be understood, right? And as future AI becomes smarter, it's going to continue to mine that long tail of personal data and learn actually new insights from it that AI today doesn't see. And so what that means is that AI-driven personalization will become more subtle. And even today, I feel like AI personalization's a little bit ham-handed. I mean, you can still see the connections between something you've done, some action you've taken in the past, some link you've clicked on, something you've asked Alexa, and then what's being displayed, when you go to visit a personalized website. You talk about, you're in your living room with Alexa and you're talking about your living room rug looks old, and then, you can then go to, Amazon and see, oh, look, they have a new sale on living room rugs. Like, you can still see those connections. I think future forward, as AI continues to iterate and mine the data that we're generating about ourselves, those connections are going to disappear to us. And AI will be able to make connections that we're not going to be able to follow, but will still provide a very personalized and customized and fresh experience. And we'll really begin to seem to know what we want to do or what we're looking for almost before we do. And so, absolutely, I mean, the next big thing with regard to content management, is AI beginning to pervade the delivery of that content to be able to deliver those types of fresh and personalized experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with both of you guys. Definitely huge on our roadmap. So we've come to the last question before we move on to questions from the audience. Danny, you have intimate knowledge of dotCMS, and a product is obviously never done, right? Keeps us up the street. But what would be high on your wish list, for dotCMS? I mean, obviously no guarantees that we will deliver it in the next release, but I would like to hear your thoughts on what would be a cool thing from a product point of view.
Yeah, and I think there's two parts to this for me. There's the product point of view and then the more technical, selfish point of view. And I think from the product point of view, it's the customer insights and the personalization experiences from your platform. I mean, your system already offers all the APIs people would ever need. And I think the ability to leverage that and plumb in reporting and insights and really drive that personalization experience from your platform and your APIs will not only be a seriously slick experience, but I think it'll be a really good outcome. So I would really like to see that as a superb addition to the platform. But I think from a technical perspective, I'd like to see .NET SDKs. So I work a lot in multiple languages, Java, .NET, and all of that. But I think that we could really accelerate people's ability to develop on something that's already fast to build with. with a set of predefined SDKs, frameworks, and libraries for SPAs, which you guys have already taken care of, .NET Core and framework, along with Java. I think some pre-built stuff there in those areas would be really, really good to see.
Right. Yeah. No. And I'm sure we're equally excited to work with you guys, obviously, to bring that to the market. Okay. Again, this concludes our fireside chat. Thanks both Will and Danny. Let's see if there's some questions from the audience. There's one question. Do you support Angular 7 single-page app applications in dotCMS? Will?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Our backend is written in Angular 7. The JavaScript libraries that are driving the React single-page app aren't built for React. They're built for use, with any JavaScript library, Angular, Vue, what have you. So, absolutely, Angular 7 is supported and can be leveraged as a platform to deliver content from dotCMS, content and layouts, and whatever else you can consume with the APIs. Yeah, we do it ourselves.
Right. Right. Yeah, no, that's good to hear. And like I said earlier at the start of our fireside chat, right? So, edit mode anywhere doesn't really care about what front-end technology you use, whether it's Angular, React, Node, if you name it. It's all supported by dotCMS. So, really gives developers and technology teams freedom, right, to work with their favorite technology. Next question. So many vendors claim to be a hybrid CMS, but what they really offer is a head optional CMS. How can you tell the difference between a head optional and a hybrid CMS? Danny, can I present you that question?
Yeah, sure. So unfortunately, the only way to really tell is once you get into the bare bones of an implementation. And what you'll find is the feature set that supports the API is an additional install, it's additional work to get it in, versus something that's just built on an API first platform, initially at its core. So you'll see that you don't get the benefits from the build aspects, the implementation aspects. Those performance gains, they don't kind of come to fruition. So it's a hard one to flag, and there is a lot of marketing material around that everyone brags about being true headless. But it's not the easiest thing to spot, but it can often be, if you do your research, really look into how the implementations work for those platforms, do your homework, you can see the difference between an addition versus something that's built on it at its heart. It just takes a bit of time and a bit of discipline. That would be my advice on the subject, really.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that one. Will, anything you would like to add to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can also see a lot of times like systems being shoehorned into a different paradigm. Like, for example, page-based content management systems, basically what you're doing is you're delivering what used to be called a page as now a piece of content or a content type, versus just being able to design, custom content types on the fly, and that being sort of a content repository-based content management system. So I think if all the tooling is sort of built around page delivery, and then your APIs are kind of calling that and mutating that into some sort of content object, I think that, you could understand there that you're looking at, a head optional or a traditional CMS that's being pushed as a headless solution. I think the other component is the system's API usage itself internally, right? So, for example, we eat our own dog food with regard to the APIs that we're delivering, and use them ourselves extensively internally to deliver the administrative experience. So it's obviously, that API first strategy, is really apparent when customers come to use the APIs as well. So I think I think Danny's right on with regards to the additional install, or it takes another package or something like that to be another primary indicator as well.
Yeah, and your point there, Will, about the CMS platform being built on those APIs. That's another one to watch out for as well, right? Because there are sometimes authoring and content delivery APIs that are completely separate, and the authoring ones may be something that's always been there as a way to grow out the platform and the authoring capabilities, but the CD stuff is still optional. It's still something that's been added and suffers from the same nuances. So those are things really to do your homework on and check out.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. No, and as a follow-up question, what APIs do you support in dotCMS? Will, you want to start with that?
Oh, I mean, we have hundreds of APIs really in dotCMS. From the primary ones are going to be the content delivery APIs. That you can deliver content, you can query the content repository, you can update, insert content into the content repository. Those are the ones, the primary ones that get interacted with, I think, outside. The layout as a service API and the page as a service APIs, those are two that are driving the edit mode anywhere capabilities. But there are, I don't have the exact number, but there are, hundreds of APIs available in dotCMS in order that you can leverage to.
Cool. Yeah, we expose all this over REST, but we also support GraphQL, right, since version 5.1. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, and I mean the GraphQL is a natural fit for us as a content-based content repository to be able to deliver that content and query that content using a GraphQL interface. Was really low-hanging fruit from us from a technical perspective, because we had all of the tooling in place to be able to do that anyway. And so that, it's a very, I see us moving more and more pieces of our existing APIs, which are REST-based, into GraphQL to be able to provide just a really, really rich, obviously, graph of all the different objects within dotCMS and being able to allow our users to really customize what responses they're looking for dotCMS to send, and really minimizing the payloads, for their own internal applications as well.
No, great. Yeah, no, and I think it's also worth reiterating again that in 5.1 we also delivered the API tooling, right? That really makes the build of REST endpoints a low-code effort, right? Is there anything you would like to say on that as well?
Yeah, I think exactly, and this is what hybrid capability. I think what we've done in 5.1 is delivered what we call scripting as a service. And so what that allows you to do is to build custom REST endpoints, high performance custom REST endpoints, using our delivery tier scripting language Velocity. And these can live they can live as assets. These endpoints can live as assets, versionable assets within the dotCMS system itself, or you can actually post into scripts into dotCMS that dotCMS will take, parse, and render the results back to you. I just did a POC where I use scripting as a service actually to go as a way to go and import content that lived within a cloud Confluence installation and import that into the dotCMS content repository. So it's a really powerful capability. You don't feel like opening your IDE and getting your Java on. It makes interacting with the dotCMS content store very, very easy and lightweight.
Great. No, that was definitely fantastic to see that POC. Another question from the audience. Are there any plans to build dynamic web packs for a stronger user experience in larger scaled applications? I guess that's for you, Will.
The dynamic web packs?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I understand the question. I'm not sure in what regard.
No, me neither. I mean, I can, talk a little bit about it, obviously, but that's more like from, a product perspective. Obviously, user experience is an ongoing effort in every release that we bring to the market. So, yeah, we want to continuously enhance that experience. But on the front end, yeah, there's already, total freedom of how and what you want to expose to your visitors, right? So I'm not sure if I understand the question either, but I mean, there's already a lot of flexibility on both sides of the equation, back end and front end, in my opinion.
Right, and I think if we were, it's not that I think dotCMS wouldn't deliver the dynamic web packs. I think the dynamic web pack would be built and include artifacts and assets from dotCMS, and even those could be even rendered within dotCMS as part of that packaging process. So, I think that currently that's not on our roadmap. That's the first time we've been asked that question, but it's not out of the realm of possibility even from where we are today.
Okay. Okay, I'm getting notifications that we have one more minute. That's great because I have one more question. Why is edit mode anywhere such a benefit to marketers? And I'm more than happy to start with the response on that one. I hope I made that a little bit clearer in my presentation, but I think the biggest advantage for edit mode anywhere for marketers is that they have a consistent and awesome editor experience, meaning having access to great tools like preview, inline editing, page composition, drag and drop, and using all those no-code tools, regardless where the content is being exposed, whether the technology team is building cool Angular, React, and what have you apps, doesn't really matter. It doesn't impact what marketers are doing in their day-to-day job, right? So that it keeps up the agility and the time to market and the time to value from a marketing perspective. I think that's the coolest thing about edit mode anywhere. But again, that's my take on it. Danny, Will, you have any final words and thoughts on this?
Mm-hmm. I mean, from my perspective, I think I mentioned it. Sorry, Danny. I mentioned it, the idea that data entry is not going to be enough for business users and marketers, and I think they're going to demand more control over an experience to be able to curate, much more than just textual content or imagery, but be able to kind of manage the entire design, layout, and use that and be able to deliver that into applications, which is why I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. It's the idea of having a tool that is now expanding all the capabilities that were native, where dotCMS had to handle the rendering of your pages, and now being able to take that, use the APIs, but expose them to the editorial experiences via your own application. So it's the idea of your business taking control of the technology that's supplying the toolkits that your marketers have at their fingertips. So I think it takes a bit to understand it because it's not always something you can see. It's the benefits you get long-term from the usage. It's the ability to choose and do basically whatever you need to do to meet your business requirements. And those are things that marketers can't always see, but they understand as soon as they get the end result in their hands.
Absolutely.
Right. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for this webinar and the fireside chat. It's always a pleasure working with you. Again, thanks a lot. People, thanks for joining us today. Looking forward to talk to you in person in another occasion. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Take care.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.